Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for What You Missed at Gartner, Human Readiness in an AI World. My name is Jess Etheridge, I'm your host for today. Thank you for joining us and the team at Kinetic IT. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we all gather today across our beautiful country and pay our respects to elders past and present, and also extend that respect to any First Nations folks joining us today. I'll be your host for this short and sharp 30-minute session where we tuck into what happened at Gartner this year. And I've got with me today two of Kinetic IT's leading experts, Michelle Major-Goldsmith and Tony Campbell. Hey team, how's it going?
Hey Jess, thanks for asking us here.
Hey Jess, good to be here.
Awesome, thank you so much. If you didn't make it to Gartner's IT Symposium and Expo this year, don't worry, we've got you covered. Today, Michelle and Tony are going to share what most people missed at the event, the fact that AI's biggest challenge isn't technology, but it's people. It's us. We'll unpack what Gartner called the human readiness gap and explore how governance, organisational change and reskilling will redefine AI success over the next decade. And that's what today is about. Cutting through the buzzwords and exploring how governance, organisational change and workforce readiness can make AI genuinely useful to you and your organisation, as well as sustainable in our workplaces. Before we dive in, let's take a quick look back at this year's Expo and what had everyone talking. Roll the video.
Hi, I'm Cassie Loader, Group Executive across Critical Infrastructure. It's been wonderful being here at Gartner for the last couple of days, meeting existing customers as well as potential customers and telling all about Kinetic IT as the largest Australian-owned IT managed service provider and system integrator.
Well, of course, it's all been about AI, as you would expect, but one of the really interesting things I heard from Gartner was this focus on your service providers. We're going to be in a situation where 35% of countries are going to have an expectation of sovereignty through their AIs and their service provision, and that really brings governance into focus.
I think the speed that the industry is changing and the speed of change that AI is directing into our industry is the thing that's going to really drive what our future looks like in service delivery.
Oh, it looked like so much fun. I was really jealous to not be there. But joining me today are Michelle and Tony, who were there on the ground, and they, in their day jobs, are helping organisations navigate these exact challenges. Michelle Major-Goldsmith leads our service integration and systems team. She's a global thought leader in service management and service integration, one of the lead architects behind Scopism's service integration and management bodies of knowledge, which is just about to be relaunched for 2025. And a multi-award-winning expert recognised by ITSMF Australia and HDI for her contributions to the industry. Michelle's known for her practical, people-centred approach and making complex ecosystems work. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Thanks, and great introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. And Tony Campbell is Kinetic IT's Director of Enterprise Security, brings more than 3 decades of experience in technology and security leadership. He's a published author, trainer, and one of the driving forces behind our enterprise cyber security services, helping customers build resilient operating models in fast-changing environments. Hey, Tony, thanks as well for being here.
Thanks for pointing out the 3 decades, Jess. That's much appreciated.
Look, you've got a great heritage, a great experience, and we're going to learn a lot from those 30 years from you today. So thank you. So let's set the scene. Gartner this year was dominated by one big theme, AI. But underneath the hype, there was a clear message that emerged. AI won't fail, but adoption will without human readiness. Even if the tech stood still today, most organisations would need years to catch up, which is a bit of a chilling thought. Michelle, let's start with you. Gartner talked about this gap between technology and people. From your perspective, what's the real challenge with AI adoption, the tech itself or human readiness?
Absolutely, human readiness. So you've already said, Jess, tech's miles ahead. Gartner had some statistics around, even if the companies who were developing the AI stopped doing it tomorrow, and we stopped where we were, the people would take so many years to actually catch up. So for me, the challenge really is around organizational change. It's around workforce readiness. Gartner stats, 21% of organizations don't or do have a plan, but it's the others that don't. So the plan around, how will AI impact their people? So most people are in organizations, working within organizations where there's an expectation that they are ready for AI. And that means that, we're introducing AI without giving staff the skills to trust or really be able to apply AI consistently and well. So what we need to do is take a step back and think about that organizational change management piece, because if we want the investment in AI to succeed, that is the thing that we're going to need to do to underpin it and make it work.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Tony?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think one of the big themes that we hear a lot about today is digital resilience and the resilience of organizations generally to be able to deal with not only cyber attacks, which is kind of like where I would focus, but also just on the rate of change that technology is bringing to them. Those kind of things can change the ability for an organization to succeed. And I think, putting the right level of governance and organizational change management, as Michelle said, around how we adopt technology can lead to the resilient future of that organization. Whereas if you throw technology in without going through that OCM process, the people become, the weakest link in the success that you're going to get out of that technology change. So I think, it's really important that, from a cybersecurity perspective as well, that we put the right type of governance around it. We put the right training and the right change management around it to make sure that what you result in isn't just an organization playing with AI. It's an organization powered by and accelerating due to AI.
Yeah, perfectly said. So governance first and then scale. I think, that's a bit of a back to basics message. And, some things change, but some things stay the same. So, Michelle, building on that, trust came up at Gartner a lot in leadership and in AI itself. Why is trust so critical to the operating model?
I mean, trust is a really interesting one because it's difficult to, I guess, really contextualize, but it was a theme. It was absolutely a theme. Gartner, again, in their studies say that there is a major trust gap. So 87% of the employees that they surveyed said they feel ready to start to utilize AI, but only 29% of them actually trusted their leadership to make the right AI decisions. Now, this is really quite damaging because if people don't trust leaders to use AI responsibly, or if the outputs of the AI can't be well explained, and going back to Tony's ideas around governance, then adoption will inevitably stall. So what we need is organizations that are building really strong operating models, governance, transparency, clear accountability, so both customers, employees know AI is being utilized in the correct way, ethically and with purpose. So trust is a really significant thing, and it's a difficult thing to manage and control because once it's lost, it's really difficult, as we know, to reestablish. And trust is a very personal thing as well, which is a further complexity when you throw that into the mix of AI and organizations trying to enable trust and get people to feel confident in using it. So,
yeah, that's fascinating. Trust is an area I'm particularly interested in. And, we've got the Edelman Trust Barometer that comes out and talks about trust as a really vital currency, especially in today's world where there's shared partnerships as a model and all that sort of stuff. So, no, thanks, Michelle. That was really, really insightful. Tony, you're kind of tapping into this a little bit earlier, but it ties closely to some of your work in explainability and accountability. How can leaders actually embed that kind of governance so it doesn't become a barrier?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jess. Look, let's take this from the point of cybersecurity, from a trust perspective. Based on what Michelle was just talking about, I always view trust as more of a subjective belief that people have in something, as opposed to trustworthiness, which is what we try to build in through evidence systems and architectures into the types of systems that we're developing. I think you can have high trust in a low trustworthy system, for example, and that's really dangerous. It's like where we trust the government to do something, or we trust an organization to do something. It doesn't mean they're going to do it, and it doesn't mean that every element of that system is actually trustworthy, but it's something that we believe we should trust in. So I think whenever you're designing systems, what you're looking for is the set of controls that are able to be instigated inside that system to make sure the trust that people give it and they bestow on it as a belief is actually upheld through the systems and the evidence, the components of that system actually generate. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely. And I think it's about governance being an enabler, not a roadblock. If you know your risks and you know them well, you should be able to still build from there. And I think it's an interesting concept of talking about how do you have trust in a zero trust environment. Perhaps that's a discussion for another webinar and another day, but very fascinating. So Michelle, you had a great phrase in your notes, and it comes back to, I guess, this trust and governance stuff. At the heart of that is our people, and AI adding to what you're calling a talent remix. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's loads of conversations. There are genuine concerns from people in the workforce about job loss, inevitably, when we talk about AI. But I think really what we need to focus on is this idea that there will need to be a talent remix. And that means that we are having to change the shape of work rather than erasing it. Yeah, so we just need to think about different types of skills and having people apply their capabilities in different types of ways. So skills like AI fluency, data literacy, critical thinking, all of those are going to be super important. The other thing that Gartner were talking about, which I think was really interesting, is this idea of how AI can change the way people work negatively. So we're hoping for all the positives, but we can get this situation where we have this skills atrophy. So we start to over-rely on the AI. So really the idea here is that organizations need to actively invest in reskilling and creating this idea of AI multipliers. And that's people who use AI to expand their roles. And that really needs to be the focus. So it's a talent remix, it's a shift, it's about understanding the way that the AI is going to impact the way people do their jobs and giving them this focus on how can we evolve our skills and capabilities to be able to use it to best effect.
The idea of AI multipliers is really interesting. People using AI to extend their roles, move faster at pace, but we're seeing that that governance and back to basics is so important. We've seen in the news recently about how AI has impacted a lot of reporting that the Australian government is seeking from industry. So it's a really interesting and refreshing way to think about it, the talent remix. But your point about skills atrophy was really interesting too. Tony, I know you've been running a bit of a small scale experiment on your own brain using AI, using it to augment your day-to-day work. What has that taught you, and did it enhance your skills, or are you thinking you're starting to atrophy yourself?
Oh, Jess, look, it's definitely a topic to unpack on a longer conversation, maybe over a beer sometime. But what I did find was over the course of a month of using AI to do most of the hard work that I used to do in reading through industry reports, summarizing them, taking notes, and then turning those notes into some kind of blog piece or a piece of content. I used to do that the hard way. And I enjoyed doing it the hard way. And whenever you do that, you're forced to read every word. You're forced to take all the sense out of it, boil it down into what those, the key talking points are, and then use those as the basis of your own opinion whenever it comes to writing a blog post or an opinion piece. I started using AI as an experiment to do all of that for me. And I did that consistently for a month. And what I found was that over the period of that month, things got a lot easier for me. I was just flowing through the work to the end point of getting that publishable draft very, very quickly. But I did a little bit of timing of myself, being able to read through a similar length report, distill it down, take the notes. And I found that my ability to even focus and concentrate on reading those reports had tailed off immeasurably. It was a really noticeable change that, you know, I was distracted. I read a couple of pages and then I was thinking, oh, I need to look at something else now. And even in just a month, it was definitely starting to erode into my ability to focus. So I think one of the key takeaways for me from this is, and I've done an awful lot of research around the edges of this as well, that we start to rely heavily on the tools for doing some of the things that are really core to how we learn as humans. The thing that we do around deep research, writing, focusing, turning that into something that we're going to then go and publish as a summary ourselves. The act of doing that is actually the thing that makes us learn and understand the piece of research that we were reading. If we cut that out, we'll end up with what in my article that I wrote, we call a lossy JPEG of what the original was, without the understanding of how we got to that end result. And I think that really worries me. If everyone starts doing that now, we're going to end up with content, long content produced by AI. No one will read the long content. They'll summarize that, and where the truth lies is going to be completely hidden then.
So true. Michelle, putting you on the spot slightly, but hearing about Tony's own experiment and I guess your own dalliances with artificial intelligence, have you noticed any change? Or what do you think? What do you think the untapped potential is, I guess, in using these that we might not be thinking about?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I've found similarly to Tony, and I have a concern that if we carry on the way that we are, and Tony's alluded to it, the ability to be able to critically understand certain messages is going to be quite difficult. You know, people are not going to be able to do it. So I'm not sure at this stage about untapped potential. There is potential that we need to work out specifically what that is. So what are the benefits going to be, and what are the things that we need to avoid and caution against? So I think that's going to be a long journey, and it needs analysis, and that's the point. You know, we can turn on fancy tools, we can start to get the AI doing things, but I think unless we understand where we can use it to best effect and where we should avoid its use for some of the reasons that Tony unveiled there, that is going to be the key skill. So that thinking around the AI strategy and use is what we need to have leaders think about as part of their investment decision.
Really sage advice. And I guess what we talked about at the top of the session is it gets back to basics. You should adopt and play with new technologies, but you need to have your core foundations of governance really in place and prioritizing your people. Just before we wrap up, I just wanted to come back to one thing that you shared in that video, Michelle, about the message about service providers needing to grow up. That's probably because service providers provide a huge support to organizations about their governance and their maturity. What do you think the takeaway is for people who might be watching or listening, who might be working with service providers, especially in a SIAM environment, about what to be kind of seeking from your providers?
Yeah, I mean, that was a really interesting discussion that I heard around this idea of AI and the challenge of sort of culture and organization and industry and geography, because we are quite often working with lots of different service providers doing lots of different things under many different conditions. And then you alluded to it before, changes in government mandate, what we should be reporting, how we should be operating. And I think that message around service providers growing up was the recognition that there are things that need to be incorporated, and we referred to governance there before as a critical one, but the application of governance needs to be done in the right way. So the grow up was more recognize the complexity and recognize the expectation, recognize and understand what your customers are going to need from you as a service provider, and the interfaces that you have to build and share, and the changes in, I guess, the way you operate. the way that you engage and connect with others. And that for me was the key thing. They can't just keep operating in a single way. It has to be recognizing complexity and adapting and being able to work more effectively together despite commercial constraints if they want to get the best from their customers. And the AI lens to that was, of course, because a lot of the providers are now utilizing the AI, and that has impacts, on the way that they deliver services. And it's just another feature that needs to be added into the mix in terms of getting it right.
Well, yeah, I think I've really enjoyed chatting to both of you. I think there was a lot of things to learn out of Gartner IT Symposium Expo this year. Just before we go, is there any final reflection or message that you took from Gartner that you think would be great to leave with our audience? We might go to Tony first.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Look, the Gartner conference this year was an eye-opener for me. There were a lot of vendors around that, the products that they offer are very much ripe for picking in terms of AI enablement. It makes me wonder how many of those are going to be around in 5 years' time, and how many of the big AI companies are going to be, going on capability initiatives over the next few years to kind of build their own their own set of services that they're taking to market. I think that's an interesting thing for me. And the other part of it was, again, around this part about AI as a force multiplier is really interesting. I think in cybersecurity, we're already seeing AI, machine learning has been around for a long time in the tools that we use anyway in cyber. So that's not new. But what is new is the concept of replacing the people that we've relied on to deliver those services with AI agents, AI tools, AI bots, whatever way you want to look at it. The critical aspect is going to be how, if we're going to be phasing out human roles, those roles will likely start at the bottom rung in terms of a career path. And I'm concerned, and I wonder what the bottom rung of the cyber career might look like in 5 years, and how we're going to train people through universities to make sure they're ready to land in those entry-level jobs. That's something that's on my mind at the minute, and I'm trying to. I'm looking at universities, speaking to people about it, and I'm really keen to see how we make sure and future-proof that the industry is going to keep, delivering, the academic world is going to keep delivering the people that we need to bring into those junior entry-level jobs.
Yeah, Michelle, what about you?
I love Tony's point really about preparation of people, because Gartner again said, by 2030, so we're not far away, AI is going to underpin nearly all of the work that we do within IT. So that readiness is critical, and it's not just at university. It's how do we engage and create readiness pathways and capability pathways within organizations to keep people enabled to do the changing nature of their work. So, AI success for me is really capped by that human readiness. We need the OCM. Without the programs in OCM and programs in capability uplift, there's this likelihood that those AI investments will decay very, very quickly. So the IT leaders need to double down on people, not just tools, and they often forget that. And the organizations, I think, that will succeed won't be the ones with the flashiest tools. They will be the ones that build trust. We talked about that, build evolving skills, and organizational change as a critical lever in their operating model. So for me, it's not the tech that's going to hold us back. It's whether we prepare our people to use it responsibly, confidently, and with purpose. And that's the investment decision that really is critical to leadership in this space at this point.
And I guess on top of that, the value proposition of AI isn't just a financial return on terms of not having as many people in the organization. You have to think about it as the ability to scale faster, to be able to do more work with less hands, but not necessarily just scale down on the number of people that you have.
Yeah, no, spot on. I think it's that the impetus is on industry, academia, and government to come together to find a solution and to keep opening pathways for young people into our industry. We know we've got a talent pipeline gap that's increasing in our country. So I think you've both hit the nail on the head completely about We need to reframe our focus to not just, yay, shiny new thing. It's getting back to basics. So AI won't fail, but adoption will without human readiness. So prioritizing your people, governance first, and then scale. Have a clear operating model and transparency and frameworks, and then you can move fast. Stay secure while integrating these into your operations. And it's a talent remix, not replacement. AI doesn't erase jobs, it reshapes them. So invest in reskilling your people now to build AI multipliers who will define your future success. Michelle summed it up perfectly earlier. AI success is capped by human readiness. It's not just the tech that holds us back. It's whether we prepare our people to use it and use it effectively. I just want to say thank you so much to both of you for joining me today to share what you learned on the ground at Gartner. And thanks for watching our session today. If you'd like to find out more information, please visit our website, kineticit.com.au.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate it.
Thanks all.